What kind of melon could possibly sell for a sky-high price of 3 million won? Naturally, it's an overnight melon that hasn't even been fed to the pigs yet. Seeing that, the keyballs immediately started bidding one after another. Here, I bid 3 million won. All expenses today are on me, ladies. No way. I have to bid 4 million won so everyone can hear a bang. With one palm strike down, the keyballs instantly got hyped up like a bunch of idiots. They started crazily throwing money around to celebrate. Unexpectedly, right at this moment, the mayor suddenly called. The VIP room instantly fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. The princesses also nervously tiptoed out. After the official carefully reported on the just concluded situation, he hurriedly turned to signal the keyball boss. Our mayor says regarding the matter of bidding for the casino, he has agreed. Upon hearing that, the boss was extremely pleased. Very quickly, he ordered his underlings to bring out a little gift, 5 golden turtles weighing 7.5 kilograms each, total value exceeding 40 billion won. From now on, he can be completely tied down. You won't stay forever in this city hall, right? I know you have grand ambitions and great aspirations. In the future, you will enter the Blue House in the National Assembly. You will certainly need financial support. Let's join hands and move forward together. Let me be your solid backing. My money never seeks out the incompetent. However, what this official didn't know at all was that this entire scene had been completely recorded by the surveillance camera. Later on, if he dares to disobey or not do the work, then everything he received today will have to be paid back with interest. The boss wanted the casino to open soon, but negotiating with each shop one by one was really too time-consuming. So that very night, he sent 15 strongmen, intending to kill the chicken to scare the monkey, and the first chicken was naturally the softest persimmon, easiest to bully. Seeing they came with ill intentions, the shop owner quickly called her son. Mom! The son rushed to the front of the shop at top speed, but he was blocked by one of the strongmen. Seeing his mother being arbitrarily bullied by bad guys, he angrily knocked the strongman down with just a few punches. But immediately afterward, he was tightly surrounded by their people. With no choice, he had to take a boxing guard stance. In just 1 minute, the 15 strongmen were knocked down. Men and horses toppled over. Seeing that scene, the ringleader was so scared he shit his pants. Just then, the boss appeared with his personal bodyguard. The boss presented himself as a very reasonable man. During the pandemic, seeing everyone struggling, he kindly offered loans. It's just their fault for not clearly reading the smallest line at the bottom. Now it's been over 724 hours. So the interest has also increased to 40 million won. Pay up. Compensate for our shop's losses first. Seeing that, the boss wordlessly sat down, then signaled the bodyguard to step up. The young man took the initiative, rushing up with 2 punches, but the opponent was completely unscathed. One move of charged fist strike, the young man instantly lost his ability to resist. Even as a lightweight boxing champion, at this moment he could only protect his head and barely hold on. Soon after, he was headbutted to the ground by the opponent. The young man was beaten by him to the point of having absolutely no strength to fight back. But luckily, the boss didn't want a death on his hands. At the critical moment, he timely ordered the bodyguard to stop. But this still wasn't the main reason. He actually valued the tenacity in Jin Woo's bones. I appreciate people with tenacity. People with tenacity can accomplish anything. Do you want to come work for me? The boss's inner rage then erupted. He knelt on Jin Woo's chest. From his heel, he drew out a dagger and used it to leave an indelible scar on Jian Woo's face. The story of this revenge officially begins from this moment. Jian Woo's face required 30 stitches. The doctor suggested he get plastic surgery, but the loan shark boss said, if the money isn't repaid within a month, they'll seize his family's shop. Before, Jian Woo could still rely on boxing to earn some prize money. But ever since the pandemic hit, boxing gyms and competitions were all indefinitely suspended. Having lost income, he fundamentally couldn't pay off the debt of up to 100 million. His friend, Wu Jin, advised him to just report it to the police. But Jian Woo absolutely didn't dare. If you call the cops, your mom is dead. As 2 broke paupers, they certainly couldn't come up with the money. So, the 2 had no choice but to find another loan shark company, intending to borrow from one to pay another, just to get through the current difficulty first. The boss was very generous, immediately putting 100 million on the table, and offered the lowest interest rate of 1%. But the attached condition was that they must work for the company for 1 year. Due to the pandemic causing many people to be unemployed, this type of lending company fundamentally didn't worry about a shortage of clients. The only thing they lacked was debt collectors. In the industry slang, such a person is called a hound. Professional boxers like Jian Woo and Wu Jin were exactly right for the job. but neither wanted to become a tool for them to bully the weak. So in the end, they had to find another way. Shibble, are you kidding me? Does this look like a joke? Meanwhile, the story of John Woo single-handedly taking on a gang reached the ears of a certain big shot. It happened that his team was currently severely short-staffed. Moreover, he also had a grudge against that very same loan shark group, so he entrusted a lending institution under his command to find the two of them. After that, through the other party's introduction, Jan Woo went to a restaurant to meet him, but unexpectedly, this Chairman Choi was not only refined-looking and gentle-spoken, but the loans he gave out also didn't collect a single penny in interest. He said in his youth he had also worked in the high-interest loan business. But later he was betrayed by a subordinate, leaving him with a lifelong disability. So all these years he had always been doing good deeds and accumulating virtue, hoping to give his descendants a peaceful and stable life. He said he could directly offer a reward of 100 million, but the condition was to be a bodyguard for his granddaughter for 2 years. Hearing that, Jan Woo finally breathed a sigh of relief. Afterwards, the two hit it off immediately, and that very night, Chairman Choi's driver came to deliver the money. Here is 100 million. What? Chairman Choi said this is your salary paid in advance for the next 2 years. How could it be? Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, start work. I'll text you the office address. Looking at the heavy bag of money in his hands, John Woo was moved to tears on the spot. He also resolved to definitely repay Chairman Choi's kindness well. After giving this money to his mother, the next day John Woo went to work very early. Woo Jin also shamelessly tagged along, suggesting he also wanted to find a job to make a living. Seeing that, Chairman Choi readily agreed, and told them to wait for his granddaughter at the bookstore. The two were idle with nothing to do, intending to find a book to read, when instantly they were blinded by the thing that fell out from inside a book. One book contained a full 100 million won in cash. The two then pulled out even more encyclopedia volumes. The ancestors' words are indeed true. Truly, within books there is a house of gold. This full pile of books must be at least several hundred billion won. Not long after, Chairman Choi's granddaughter, Hyeon-ju, arrived, and gave the two their next task. Although Chairman Choi helped many people with interest-free loans, in this world, bad people always outnumber the good. Some people took advantage of his kindness to do bad things. Hyeon-ju said they must find a guy named Yang Yim-young. He previously claimed his mother was seriously ill and borrowed 100 million won, but after taking the money he completely disappeared. Through various inquiries, learned that Yang Yim-young's gang often disguised themselves as homeless people, then scammed the ID cards of the real homeless, then using their identities to register companies. Finally, using the company's name to fraudulently borrow money. After this whole operation they raked in a lot of money, and the person behind Yang Yim-young was precisely the four Rise who previously led the smashing of the coffee shop. That very night, the three launched their operation. They spotted Yang Yim-young, dressed sharply, entering an underground shopping mall. Then one by one he woke up these homeless people with no place to rely on. Yang Yim-young claimed the homeless organization could unite to help each other. So, considering everyone here has a miserable life, he volunteered to be the sponsor for the other party to join the association. Just need to show your ID card. Once successfully admitted, not only will you get 1 free meal a day, but each month you can also receive 20 free masks. The homeless man was quickly swayed upon hearing this, and took out his ID card. Then Yang Yim-young continued searching for other targets. But as it turned out, very unfortunately, this homeless man had already been scammed once before. You bastard. Hey, you bastard. Where's my ID card? Give it back quick, you crazy bastard shibble. The homeless man, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, was quickly pinned to the ground by them and beaten severely. Seeing the old man being beaten bloodily, Jane Woo finally couldn't hold back any longer and stepped in. Come over here, you bastard. Hey, I'm here, so what now? Yang Yim-young and his gang fled in panic. Jan Woo simply had no time to chase after them. He quickly took the old man to the hospital with Woo Jin. Although saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda, this action startled the snake in the grass. Yang Yim-young quickly found 4 Rise to report the situation. Because they had clearly seen Jan Woo's hat at that time, the two quickly realized this was Chairman Choi up to something. So that very night, they appeared on the surveillance camera outside the bookstore. Seeing that, Hyeon-ju hurriedly turned off the sinboard lights and quickly pulled down the rolling shutter. Luckily, Yang Yim-young didn't know the exact location either. But the bookstore's door was made of special bulletproof steel. Ordinary shops fundamentally couldn't afford to use it. 4 Rise quickly realized this place held secrets. He walked straight under the surveillance camera. Then, without a word, he left with Yang Yim-young. Without a doubt, next time they return, it won't be just the two of them. Because the situation was serious, Chairman Choi rushed to the bookstore overnight, and he looked extremely tense, as if a great calamity was about to befall him. Chairman, it's confirmed to be Kim Myung-gil, your former subordinate. Actually, 20 years ago, Chairman Choi was also a lawless loan shark, including 4 eyes and the others. They were all once his subordinates. One night, he suddenly received a call from his driver, saying there were 2 thieves in the office, and the one who came was precisely that iron head who had beaten Jian-Woo to the point of utter helplessness. Just as the two were in the act of stealing, Chairman Choi walked into the room and locked the door tightly. The two sides started fighting fiercely the moment they met. Although Iron Head was physically strong, in the eyes of an old veteran like Chairman Choi, he was still too green. He very quickly knocked the opponent down with a few strikes of his baton. Another thief, seeing this, still tried to run away, was also instantly knocked down by a flying baton. Who sent you? The mastermind behind the scenes was precisely the loan shark boss 20 years later, Kim Myung-gil. Chairman Choi was stabbed several times in succession by the opponent and very quickly lost his fighting strength. But still, relying on sheer tenacity, he bit down tightly on the opponent and wouldn't let go. Just as the dagger was about to stab down, Iron Head rejoined the fight. Chairman Choi was slammed down on the spot and severely injured. His legs were permanently disabled because of this. But luckily his time hadn't come yet. Kim Myung-gil and Iron Head hurriedly packed up the money and prepared to leave. But just as they were leaving, looking out the window, Chairman Choi was nowhere to be found. The two were terrified at the sight. Hurriedly, they burned the office clean and hastily retreated. For the next 20 years, Chairman Choi's subordinates scattered and disbanded. Luckily, his driver had saved him back then and remained loyal, serving him hand and foot. In order not to be found and silenced by Kim Myung-gil, Chairman Choi and his few loyal subordinates could only keep a low profile. But now that things had come to this, he knew he couldn't hide any longer. Rather than sit idle and await death, better to take the initiative. So he sent Jian-Woo and the other two to tail the enemy and find their hideout. But their actions were also very quickly discovered. Yang Ye-myung, upon seeing this, immediately contacted 4 eyes. Then, late at night, deliberately revealed their whereabouts, luring Jian-Woo and Woo Jin into an underground parking lot. Come out! Meanwhile, Ha-yeon-ju, who was waiting outside, suddenly noticed more enforcers appearing. She hurriedly called Chairman Choi for backup, but by this time, it was already too late. Shibble, what a life-threatening situation. Seeing there was no way left to run, Jian-Woo and Woo Jin had to stand back to back and face the fight, intending to use their fists to carve out a bloody path. Although their fists were hard enough, no matter how hard, they couldn't be harder than steel pipes. Coupled with the extreme disparity in numbers between enemy and themselves, Jian-Woo was quickly beaten into a corner, struggling desperately. Seeing his good brother in trouble, Woo Jin immediately rushed over, disregarding his own life, also grabbing a steel pipe, engaging in a melee with the enemies. But perhaps boxers aren't very used to using weapons. He was very quickly knocked down by a single swing. The two brothers thus both fell into a desperate situation. Right at the critical moment, Ha-yeon-ju suddenly charged down to the rescue. After a round of fighting side by side, the dozens of enforcers present at the scene were all lying strewn on the ground. The 3 of them, Jian-Woo's group, feared the enemy would send more reinforcements, so they hurriedly evacuated the scene. However, at the same time, the door of Jian-Woo's house was suddenly pried open. Hearing the noise, the mother thought it was her son returning, but immediately after she suddenly heard the sound of tearing duct tape. Sensing something wrong, she hurriedly tried to close the door, but by this time, the henchman had already barged in. The mother was quickly drugged and collapsed. The henchman, following Kim Myung-gil's orders, intended to take her back to headquarters. Unexpectedly, at this moment, an uninvited guest suddenly showed up. Seeing how fierce this person was, Yang Ye-myung panicked, hoisted the woman up, and ran. But how could this mysterious man tolerate a fish slipping through the net? With no choice, he could only put the woman down and speed up his escape. However, his speed was still too slow. This person was Wang Yang-juo, one of Chairman Choi's 2 loyal lieutenants, and the other loyal lieutenant, Lia Du-young, had already arrived at the underground parking lot. Finding the fight had already ended, he originally planned to leave, but he happened to run into a blind fool. With no choice, he could only help him forcefully go to sleep. To prevent Jian-Woo's mother from encountering danger again, Chairman Choi brought her to his own mansion and arranged a job for her at an orphanage. And next, Chairman Choi planned to contact his former subordinates to carry out fierce retaliation against Kim Myung-gil. Can we catch him? Starting tomorrow, I will act together with Du-young. We will take care of them one by one. Arrange to have a meal with Du-young. Driver O. Look into the information on Kim Myung-gil's subordinates for me. Okay. At this moment, Kim Myung-gil had also summoned his top generals. Chairman Choi previously had 5 top-tier enforcers, and each one was an existence that could single-handedly take on a crowd. In those years, they had built a fearsome reputation. Although currently only Wang Yangjun and Li Duyang remained, he didn't dare underestimate them. After all, among his own subordinates, apart from Iron Head, only the sinister and ruthless Im Jiangdu was somewhat presentable. Kim Myung-gil immediately ordered the two to commence the operation. First, go to the bookstore and seize Chairman Choi's safe. However, at the same time, Chairman Choi's side had also clearly grasped their backgrounds. I'll take care of this one. Tomorrow night? By the way, to what extent should we deal with him? What kind of question is that? Just kill him directly. I'll handle Kim Myung-gil. Each to their own task. We can't spare any manpower to move the cash from the bookstore either. So this task fell onto the shoulders of John Woo's trio. That very night, the three quickly launched the operation. But unexpectedly, Ma Yigo also sneaked in after them. Luckily, while packing the cash, Han Ju spotted Iron Head's figure, and it looked like he was heading towards Jian Wu and Wu Jin. Seeing the grave situation, she hurriedly rushed out to warn the two of them, but ended up getting knocked down by Im Jiangdu with a single strike. Han Ju was finally bound by her hands. The fight on the other side also began accordingly. Although Iron Head was tall and immensely strong, under the combined assault of the two boxers he was still somewhat unable to resist. Im Jiangdu heard the sounds of fighting and paused his steps slightly. Han Ju seized the opportunity to break free from her bindings and hurriedly escaped. Then, using both hands and feet simultaneously, she pulled out the short whip she carried. Han Ju quickly used the key to unlock the handcuffs. Immediately after, she handcuffed Im Jiangdu to a water pipe. Carrying the short whip, she turned back to assist, but by this time it seemed she wasn't needed anymore, because Jian Wu was already seeing red. Calm down, stop hitting him, okay? Right now, transporting the cash is most important. The three didn't dare waste any time, quickly tied Iron Head up on the spot, grabbed their tools and went back to move the money. But midway, they suddenly discovered Jiangdu was gone. Blame it on the poor quality of the water pipe. He quickly called Kim Myung-gil to report the situation. Immediately after, a large number of enforcers were dispatched. John Woo's trio raced against time to pack and transport. Just as they finished moving and were about to leave, the large group of enforcers just happened to arrive, blocking the exit. Seeing this, Han Ju floored it and burst out from the side. John Woo, carrying the cash, followed closely behind. The two sides engaged in a fierce chase on the streets, but due to the excessive load, Jian Wu's car fundamentally couldn't pick up speed. Coupled with the late-night empty streets, everything was clear. They fundamentally couldn't shake off the enforcers behind them. With no choice, Han Ju could only cover from the rear, constantly swerving left and right, attempting to prevent the enemy from overtaking. Ram! Shibble! The engine stalled. Shibble! We're screwed now. Seeing the enforcers about to swarm out like angry bees, these two were still staring at the cash in the trunk. By the time they grabbed the bags and ran, the enforcers had also quickly caught up. By this time, it was too late for regrets. With no choice, both had to throw the bags on the ground and run for their lives. Jian Wu frantically reversed the car to pick them up. In the end, luckily they were blessed by fate and escaped the calamity. Meanwhile, Iron Head in the basement finally woke up. Chairman Choi didn't directly kill him. Instead, he sent a subordinate to secretly tail him. This way, they could follow the clues and find the enemy's hideout. Not long after, Han Ju's trio also returned with the money. Are you okay? I lost the money from the safe, I'm sorry. I asked you, are you hurt? No. Then it's okay. That night, Li Duyang followed the trail all the way. Discovering Iron Head was ultimately taken to a hospital. In their line of work, to avoid unnecessary trouble and investigations, their subordinates all have these kinds of private hospitals. With such an obvious target, Kim Myung-gil naturally realized it too, so he immediately ordered Jiangdu to send more men to protect it. To prepare for the upcoming battle, Wang Yangjun began weapon training for the Jianwu brothers. Li Duyang took Han Ju for motorcycle training. Beautiful. The following night, everyone launched the operation. Wang Yangjun, with two underlings, stood by at the outer perimeter. Li Duyang found Four Eyes and slit his throat with one blade. However, the underground parking lot had been staked out by many enforcers from the start. Li Duyang wanted to withdraw quickly. Unfortunately, his tires suddenly slipped. He was immediately sent flying, flipping head over heels. Afterwards, the enforcers swarmed over and beat him severely. Luckily, Han Ju appeared just in time to rescue him. After a bout of slashing and killing, the two finally escaped the scene. After receiving the news that the first target had been dealt with, Wang Yangjun's Trio immediately put on masks and entered the hospital. But as soon as they entered, they saw I Am Jang-doo's figure. The three quickly rushed up the stairs. And the moment the target stepped out of the elevator, they instantly subdued him. Although one underling noticed the scene in time, he was also very quickly knocked to the ground. But this time, they didn't directly kill Im Jang-doo. Instead, they tied him up in a secret warehouse. Because Chairman Choi's goal was to extract all of Kim Myung-gil's secrets. Being the first time, lacking experience, Jong-woo just went ahead and poured the entire large bag of salt in. This time, Myang-doo was in for a world of hurt. Im Jang-doo was Kim Myung-gil's right-hand man. Making him submit was naturally not that easy. By the time Chairman Choi arrived, he was still tight-lipped, refusing to say a single word. Seeing this, Chairman Choi quickly told his subordinate to tear off the duct tape. You've taped his mouth shut like this. How can he speak? Afterwards, Chairman Choi launched a psychological attack. If he confined Im Jang-doo here and spread the news everywhere that he had betrayed Kim Myung-gil, then with the other party's suspicious nature, he would certainly send assassins to take care of Im Jang-doo first. After all, everyone in their line of work understands the truth must always come after safety. Just by taking care of that person, all potential threats can be eliminated. Hearing this, Im Jang-doo finally showed a change in expression. Why should I have to die? If you remain foolish, then you'll really be dead for sure when the time comes. Chairman Choi used both stick and carrot, indicating that as long as Im Jang-doo was willing to confess everything he knew, he could guarantee the other party a life without worries for his remaining years, and after everything was over, he would send him abroad. With no choice, Im Jang-doo could only submit. It turned out Kim Myung-gil opened the casino not just simply to make money. He had installed many hidden cameras in the VIP rooms, deliberately filming the incriminating evidence of the dignitaries visiting the casino, then using them as a means of blackmail, forcing those elite figures to work for him. Moreover, once the pandemic ends, he will hand all these criminal evidences over to the police. Then, when the value of the hotel building plummets, he will pocket it for himself. Because the 50 billion won promised to the mayor's side hadn't been fully collected yet, he then targeted the hotel owner's son, taking the opportunity while he was washing his car. They beat him up severely and filmed his sensitive video to extort money. At that time, the person in charge of this was precisely Im Jang-doo. He said these video files were all stored in a safe at Kim Myung-gil's house, and it absolutely required the vein in Kim Myung-gil's right hand to open. To prevent the data from being leaked, his phone also had a remote-controlled destruction program installed. After understanding the situation clearly, Chairman Choi arranged for his subordinates to take Im Jang-doo to a secret location for house arrest. Then he summoned everyone to formulate the next action plan. They absolutely had to find a way to destroy Kim Myung-gil's video files. Only then could they make those who were being controlled turn against him. However, at the same time, Kim Myung-gil's side had also summoned 100 underlings, and each one was fully armed. Relying on connections within the police department, they very quickly found the whereabouts of Chairman Choi and the others. Kim Myung-gil immediately ordered everyone to move out. Let's go. Yes. But by the time they arrived, this hideout had long been deserted. The scene only left behind some traces and tools used in the crime. Chairman Choi's suspicion was indeed correct. Kim Myung-gil didn't care whether Im Jang-doo had leaked secrets or not. He only cared if this threat was dead yet. He told Iron Head to immediately find Yang-doo's whereabouts to silence him. But at this moment, the underlings had a new discovery. Lee Do-young had actually left a copy of his ID card here. Immediately after, a group of people aggressively marched straight to the door of his house. Lee Do-young's wife heard a knock at the door and got up to check. Just as she was about to open the door, Lee Do-young sensed something was wrong. He hurriedly locked his wife in the inner room, told her to immediately call the police and say there were robbers in the house. No matter what happened outside, absolutely do not open the door. Then he locked the door. By this time, the enforcers also sensed something was amiss and began prying at the window. Not long after, they broke down the door and barged in. No matter how good a fighter Lee Do-young was, there was absolutely no way he could fight 100 men alone. Not long after, he was knocked down by a single club. Kim Myung-gil threatened him, forcing him to reveal the whereabouts of Wang Yongju and Chairman Choi. Otherwise, his woman would be killed. Lee Do-young was helpless and had to cooperate. The next morning, Wang Yongju went to work at the restaurant as usual, but just as he finished changing into his uniform and entered the kitchen, he saw Kim Myung-gil already sharpening his knife, waiting for a long time. "How did you find this place?" "Lee Do-young told me." Did you touch Lee Do-young's woman? Did you kill her?" The two were originally evenly matched in strength, but Kim Myung-gil didn't play fair. Wearing a bulletproof vest, Wang Yang-ju was quickly hit and fell to the ground, but he still didn't give up. As the saying goes, an inch longer, an inch stronger. So he turned around and pulled out a long sword. Seeing that, Kim Myung-gil was stunned on the spot. Because Kim Myung-gil was wearing a bulletproof vest, Wang Yang-ju couldn't directly strike his opponent's vital points. And this also gave Kim Myung-gil a moment's respite. The two quickly rolled on the ground, fighting in a tangled mess. Kim Myung-gil viciously stomped on Wang Yang-ju's wound, then suddenly launched a kick that sent him tumbling to the ground. With this, Wang Yang-ju, who was already injured, completely lost his ability to resist. The two top generals under Chairman Choi were thus dealt with one after another. This time, Kim Myung-gil didn't bring a single underling with him. That's because they had already advanced close to Chairman Choi's suburban villa. The convoy very orderly parked neatly along the roadside. Then, one underling climbed onto the car roof, infiltrated inside to open the gate. A bunch of enforcers immediately got out of the cars and moved into action. Luckily, this scene was spotted in time by Woo Jin inside the house. He hurriedly went to find Chairman Choi to escape, but by this time it was already too late. Chairman Choi said there was a gun in the basement. They absolutely had to get down there quickly, retrieve the gun, to be able to counterattack. However, by this time, the enforcers had already broken down the door and barged in. Woo Jin had no choice but to push Chairman Choi away, while he himself stayed behind to cover. But his skills weren't even on par with Wang Yang-ju and Lia Du-young, so how could he possibly be a match for them? Iron Head only left one man to deal with Woo Jin. The rest swarmed down into the basement. Seeing Chairman Choi had a gun, Iron Head had to temporarily hide behind the sofa, and at this time, Woo Jin upstairs had also been severely wounded. Very quickly, he collapsed in a pool of blood. By the time the scene had settled down, Kim Myung-gil finally strolled in casually. I'm quite grateful, actually. Hey, you gave me a dream. So I will let you leave without paying. It'll be quick, it's okay. It's okay. Not long after, Hyunju and Janwoo drove back, but suddenly discovered thick smoke billowing from the house. The two hurriedly rushed in to put out the fire, but found Woo Jin already lying in a pool of blood. Life or death unknown. Janwoo quickly carried him out of the sea of flames. Then he hurriedly rushed back in to find Chairman Choi. But by this time, Chairman Choi had already completely stopped breathing. Hyunju couldn't believe the fact that her grandfather had been killed, continuously shouting for Chairman Choi to wake up. But Janwoo knew they couldn't stay here long, had to quickly carry Hyunju away. In the end, luckily with timely emergency treatment, Woo Jin luckily managed to cling to life. But when Janwoo went out to look for Hyunju, he found she had long since disappeared without a trace. To avoid Kim Myung-gil's pursuit, the driver took the Janwoo brothers to hide in an old house in the countryside. But neither of them forgot Chairman Choi's past kindness. Every day they trained together, always ready to go back for revenge. But relying on just the two of them, they fundamentally couldn't shake Kim Myung-gil's power. So the two went to discuss with the driver, wanting to ally with Kim Myung-gil's enemies to fight together. To complete the plan Chairman Choi hadn't had time to implement before, the driver said Chairman Choi had left behind an emergency fund before his death, originally intended to leave it for Hyunju. But at this time, Hyunju had already left Korea, nowhere to be seen. So this money was handed over to the two, Janwoo and Woo Jin, for full discretion. They just had to go. He would arrange a car and accommodation in Seoul. Not long after, the two followed the address to the place. They discovered the so-called accommodation was actually the apartment of Dae Min, the driver's granddaughter. Dae Min left her number and car keys, then took her leave. Janwoo and Woo Jin began discussing their next move. They absolutely had to find someone to ally with first, but at present, Kim Myung-gil's power was immense, unrivaled in his prime. Even his enemies didn't dare to provoke him carelessly. It wasn't until the two found Chairman Moon, who had previously introduced them to their job, that things took a turn. Kim Myung-gil killed the chairman, Uncle Hwang, and Uncle Do-young too. Chairman Moon initially thought the two were joking, but after learning that Chairman Choi had truly been murdered, he immediately decided to join Janwoo and Woo Jin's operation. Because at this time, Jang-do couldn't be found, so the only channel to obtain information was just this mid-level manager, Yang Ye-myung. Therefore, that very night, the two immediately made their move. Seeing this, Yang Ye-myung immediately showed his stance on the spot. Yang Ye-myung said he had overheard Kim Myung-gil's phone call. Since Jang-do died, his connections within the police department were completely severed, but somehow, using some method, he managed to pull in another informant. Additionally, Kim Myung-gil was recently preparing to acquire a hotel, but the hotel owner's son wasn't very cooperative. It was Hong Min-bam, the one who had been filmed in a sensitive video before. This person might be worth trying to recruit. Seeing the other party spill everything so readily, Woo Jin was a bit skeptical. So he took a photo to threaten him. If he lied, or dared to leak their information, the photo would be sent to Kim Myung-gil. Then he'd be dead for sure. You don't need to worry. If you need anything, please feel free to contact me anytime. I also hope Kim Myung-gil will fall. Since Hong Min-bam was a well-known keyball heir, that very night, the two found the other party's information. They also sent him a private message via social media. However, at this time, Hong Min-bam had already been forcibly taken to an abandoned construction site. Kim Myung-gil was very dissatisfied with the hotel acquisition agreement. Hong Min-bam explained that his father disagreed with selling off assets at a low price. As a result, he was severely beaten on the spot. Then, Ironhead grabbed him by the collar and dragged him to the edge of the floor. Please spare my life. Spare me, please. Before this Friday, revise the agreement as I said. If it's not revised properly, I'll release the video. Then, it will be made to look like you jumped off the building because of that video, got it? Yes, I understand. Afterwards, Hong Min-bam sat in his car, unable to hold back his tears. As it turned out, he just happened to see the private message Woo Jin had sent him. At first, he didn't pay much attention, but after learning that Woo Jin knew the hiding place of the sensitive video, he decided to take a risk for the family business. That very night, he brought his assistant to a bar to meet the two. There's a saying, drunken words are sober thoughts. Hong Min-bam wasn't sure of their background, so he suggested having a round of drinks first before talking business. But Woo Jin, due to a previous liver injury, couldn't drink alcohol. John Woo also never had the habit of drinking. The two wouldn't even give him the face to drink together. This made Hong Min-bam feel they lacked sincerity completely, so he immediately decided to leave. With no choice, John Woo had to break his rule and have a drink with him. But sometimes, it's unbelievably miraculous. If you don't push yourself once, you fundamentally won't know how great your potential is. John Woo, drinking for the first time, was unexpectedly a bottomless pit. Both Hong Min-bam and Woo Jin watched with their jaws dropped. Even in the end, both were somewhat delirious. Unexpectedly, Jian Woo just smacked his lips and grinned with satisfaction. Hong Min-bam originally intended to probe the two for information, but as things stood now, before the other party even spoke, he was already dead drunk, eyes blurry with tears, pouring out all the grievances in his heart. Even the more he spoke, the more he felt a connection, finally even bringing Jian Woo and Woo Jin back home for another round. Not until the next morning when he woke up, did he realize he had made a fool of himself the previous day. But both sides quickly established trust and became allies. Hong Min-bam quickly used his connections to find several police officers from the tech division. After some discussion, they decided to act on the day of the contract signing. At that time, the others would be responsible for stalling Kim Myung-gil. The tech expert would lead the team to hack into Kim Myung-gil's phone. Then, control the safes program to remotely destroy the video files. And the method to hack in was this QR code. Getting Kim Myung-gil to scan the code was actually extremely easy. Due to the pandemic, when entering public places, one must scan a code to show travel history and health records. Very soon, the day of the signing ceremony arrived. Kim Myung-gil, just as expected, quickly took the bait and scanned the code. The tech team urgently raced against time to crack the code. Hong Min-bam stayed in the meeting room to stall for time. He chased everyone out, demanded that Kim Myung-gil first delete his video. Only then could this agreement be signed successfully. After signing the agreement, I'll go home and delete it. I guarantee it. Are you kidding me? Kim Myung-gil didn't know where this brat got the guts. However, just as the two were in a standoff, the safe's program was finally successfully cracked. Instantly, fuel sprayed out from inside the safe. Immediately after, a fire ignited and burned it up. Kim Myung-gil, completely unaware, thought he had gained a huge bargain. As a result, as soon as he got home, he smelled a strong burning odor. He hurriedly opened the safe to check. Kim Myung-gil has a habit. That is, he collects the phones of every person who has died by his hand. After venting his anger, he took out Chairman Choi's phone and used it to contact his informant in the police department. He knew this was definitely an act of revenge by Chairman Choi's subordinates, so he told the informant to find the driver's address. The next morning, several underlings drove to the vicinity to scout around. Finally got the specific address from a grain and oil shop. That night, Jane Woo and Woo Jin got the file on Ironhead from Yang Ye-myung. Just about to go home and look up his address. Unexpectedly at that moment, a photo of the driver was sent to their phones. My grandfather, how could this happen? Who beat him up like this? This is... Within 1 hour, come to Incheon for Garden Shopping Center. If you call the police, I'll kill this old man. I'm going to kill you. John Woo and Woo Jin knew they had caused this to the driver, so they hurriedly packed up, ready to leave and rescue him. Da Min also quickly took out a compound bow. Carrying a quiver, she even demanded to join the operation. Seeing this, Jang Woo and Woo Jin quickly tried to stop her. If they caused harm to the grandfather and then the granddaughter too, they wouldn't have the face to live on. But unexpectedly, Da Min shot an arrow right on the spot. Seeing that, the two had no choice but to take her along. In addition, Chairman Moon had also arrived at the scene beforehand. After some discussion, the four decided to let the two brothers charge in directly from the front. Chairman Moon would lead Da Min to infiltrate from the rear side to provide support. John Woo and Woo Jin had just entered the building when Kim Myung-gil's subordinates resolutely blocked the main door. Immediately after, a group of people wielding clubs surrounded the two tightly. Where is driver? Oh! Kill them! Iron Head gave the order. The great battle erupted instantly. The Jianwu brothers stood back to back, fighting in support of each other. Da Min also suddenly shot an arrow, launching a combined air-ground operation. The enforcers, seeing this, could only scramble to find cover to hide, but immediately after, a blonde guy rushed up to the second floor. Chairman Moon hurriedly rushed forward to stop him. John Woo and Woo Jin downstairs also displayed their mighty prowess. The underlings quickly had their faces beaten until they looked like pigheads. Finally, Iron Head entered the main stage. John Woo originally already wanted to settle scores with him. This time he delivered himself to their doorstep, so they just deal with him once and for all. Seeing that, Woo Jin wasn't worried at all either. Quickly went upstairs to support Chairman Moon. The blonde guy, upon facing him, immediately got a fierce beating. Unable to bear it any longer, he pulled out the dagger from his waist. Can't fight without a knife, huh? You bastard. In the end, Iron Head was knocked down by a few punches from John Woo. The blonde guy was also tied to a chair. Chairman Moon pressed him, asking where the driver had been taken, but this brat could be considered loyal. Glaring, but no matter what, he wouldn't speak. Seeing that, Chairman Moon told Jianwu to cover Da Min's eyes, then picked up an arrow and started making gestures. Wait! What is it? What is it? I'll tell you. Afterwards, the group bundled Iron Head and the blonde guy into the car, ready to contact the police to go rescue the driver. But the mole secretly tipped off Kim Myung-gil. The driver was very quickly moved to another location. The police also missed their mark. With no choice, they had to seize Iron Head and force him to reveal Kim Myung-gil's hiding place. But this guy was thick-skinned and tough, complained the force wasn't strong enough, and even burst out laughing on the spot. Immediately after, he tried to bite his tongue and kill himself. John Woo and the others were horrified at the sight. Bro, help me call an ambulance. Okay, wait! If we send this guy to the hospital, how are we going to find Kim Myung-gil's safe? No matter what you say, we can't just watch a person die. Sunbeam him. If he just dies like this, we still won't find the safe. At the critical moment, Jae-woo was suddenly overflowing with compassion. Everyone had no choice but to dump Iron Head by the roadside, finally letting the ambulance take him away. However, Kim Myung-gil's revenge would not stop because of this. The very next day, Hong Min-bam received his sensitive video. It turned out Kim Myung-gil actually still kept a backup. He hurriedly called his assistant, but the assistant's coffee had also been poisoned. Died of poisoning on the spot. That tech expert was also crushed to death by a dump truck while crossing the street. Immediately after, Jae-woo got a call from Kim Myung-gil. Tonight at 9 p.m., come to the fish farm. If this time you also call the police, I'll chop up Driver O and feed him to the fish. Got it? Why aren't you saying anything? I've already taken care of Hong Min-bam's helpers, so I advise you not to act rashly. And also, I said it before, if you mess around again, I'll go after your mother. John Woo and Woo Jin were helpless and could only comply. That night, they could only go alone to the fish farm. This was like a sheep entering the tiger's mouth. The two brothers had no weapons in hand, so one just picked up a drain cover. The other grabbed a fishing net. Shouting loudly, they rushed into a bloody battle with the enemy. By this time, the two brothers were no longer just boxers who only knew how to use their fists. Their fighting had become extremely vicious, move after move. Very quickly, they beat down all these underlings. Unexpectedly at that moment, Kim Myung-gil took the driver as a hostage and threatened the two to immediately stop and surrender. However, right at this critical moment, who the hell is that? Come here. Kill them for me? In the end, although all the underlings were beaten down, Kim Myung-gil was taken away by his subordinates amidst the chaos. Luckily, Driver O was safe and sound. Not long after, the police arrived at the scene and took all the thugs away. And based on the confessions of these guys, they successively arrested many who had slipped through the net. including the mole. Even Kim Myung-gil's luxurious mansion was sealed off. All the phones of those victims were also found. To prevent Kim Myung-gil from fleeing abroad, John Woo and Woo Jin once again went to find Yang Yi-myung, and with his help, obtained Im Jang-doo's contact information. Now, only he could possibly know Kim Myung-gil's escape route. Do you know where Kim Myung-gil will run to, right? Of course I know. Please, I beg you. We want to catch Kim Myung-gil. Please, help us. How much money will you give me? 1 bill. Oh, Shibble, what kind of joke is this? 10 billion. It's all because I trusted Chairman Choi back then. I'm screwed now. At least you should compensate me more. Right now, the reserve funds are only less than 300 million won left. The shortfall is huge. Janwoo suggested asking Hong Min Baram for help, but the person who filmed his video before was precisely Im Jang-doo. The two had a deep-seated hatred, so Woo Jin felt the other party probably wouldn't help. But now, besides him, there was no one else who could come up with this money. The two had to swallow their pride and go to him. Hong Min Bam's attitude was indeed very bad, just as expected. Questioning them, if Im Jang-doo took the money and fled abroad, then at that time who could possibly compensate for this loss? Young, if Im Jang-doo doesn't keep his word and runs away, the two of us, no matter what, will definitely find him. On this point, I guarantee you. You have to keep your word, okay? Following the 10 billion won arriving in the account, Kim Myung-gil also began his illegal border crossing plan. He loaded all the gold bars into a refrigerated truck and drove it into a container for transport. Then, welded the container shut onto the deck. As soon as the ship docked, he could just drive the truck away. However, what he didn't expect was that Im Jang-doo had also long wanted to make off with all his money and flee, so he also had his own informant here. Very quickly learned about his entire plan. 1 a.m. the day after tomorrow, there's a 2,700-ton cargo ship from Pohang Port, Sinal Bay, heading straight to Ho Chi Minh City. The person Kim Myung-gil bribed with political slush funds is a high-ranking official in the Vietnamese government. He will make off with all the hidden secret funds. The container number is TJBU 9,004,230. Inside the container there will be a truck carrying the funds. Should we act right at the moment Kim Myung-gil boards the ship? The ship is very big. It'll probably be very hard to find him. Then how should we find him? You guys board the ship together. You mean we take that ship all the way to Vietnam? Then you guys figure it out yourselves. The next day, after saying goodbye to the driver and Dae Min, Jane Woo and Woo Jin hurried to the port to meet the contact person, and taking advantage of the falling darkness, successfully boarded the ship. As the cargo ship left the dock, the two also quickly split up to search inside the ship's hold. John Woo very quickly discovered Kim Myung-gil's whereabouts. This kid is really too honest. They just crooked a finger at him, and he foolishly rushed right up. But luckily, a fall into the pit, a gain in your wit. This time, he climbed up from the container next door. After successive rounds of fierce fighting, Ironhead and Kim Myung-gil were both dealt with. But at the critical moment, Jane Woo's compassion flared up once again. He wanted to spare Kim Myung-gil's life, send him back to Korea to face legal judgment. Early the next morning, the two brothers opened the refrigerated truck. Very quickly, they found a truck full of gold bars hidden inside. Not long after, Hong Min Bam also arrived on his yacht to pick them up. Looking at the gold bars worth over 1 trillion won before their eyes, the hearts of the three were all incredibly stirred. Hong Min Bam asked the two how they planned to use this money. Both brothers intended to follow Chairman Choi's last wish, to use it to help those in need. Facing this money, don't you feel any greed? How? Young, of course there's greed. But this money isn't mine. I'm just repaying Chairman's kindness, keeping my promise to the Chairman. Although Hong Min Bam very much agreed with their idea, but this money would eventually run out one day. So he planned to put in an additional 50 billion won, to partner with Jane Woo and Woo Jin to open a hospital bearing Chairman Choi's name, and establish a welfare foundation. Through this foundation to provide medical expenses to those in need. This way, they could help even more people. The three instantly hit it off completely. But at that moment, Hong Min Bam suddenly picked up 4 gold bars. I'll make up the shortfall with my own money. You guys perfectly concluded this matter. This is a reward for you. Oh, Hyung, there's no need. I'm really okay. Chairman Choi would have done the same. Take it.